Hello everybody and welcome back to live coverage of tonight's events at Road Atlanta for rounds 13, 14 and 15 of the BSR Carrera Cup on iRacing.com. Scott Woodwis alongside Marcus Naris and Carl Long in the commentary box. And first of all, before we get into the action, I want to say well done to Marcus because he had to do that all on his own, bless him. I had some troubles trying to load up Road Atlanta and Carl had some problems with his system, so Marcus stepped up to the mantle and managed to take on all 10 laps by himself, so well done on that, Marcus, but you'll have some help this time from races 14 and 15, I'm sure.
Yeah, welcome back Scott, welcome back Carl. The viewers may not be, but believe me, I'm certainly chuffed to bits that you're back. That for someone who talks for a living, that was about the most stressful 15 minutes of my life. So, but it could have been worse. I could have been bentusting and found myself a long way down after causing a first lap wreck. So, it could have been worse.
Absolutely, and welcome back Carl as well. You're with us now finally.
I hope I am. You guys got me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Oh, beautiful.
Good stuff. Right then, so for you guys who watched round 13, of course, you all saw that Anders Dahl finally took his first win of the season. It's funny, isn't it? We talked about it just before the race, and he goes out and does that right at Atlanta and got his first win of the season. So he can now truly justify his place at the top of the standings with a race victory to his name, and he becomes, amazingly, the 12th different victor, or the 11th different winner in 13 races, which is an incredible record for such a season. Whether or not he'll do that again, we'll have to wait and see, as we are getting towards the warm-up session. I think it's the extended warm-up session because we are trying to sort out one or two things, so it's a 20-minute warm-up rather than 10. So of course, Marcus, we may as well talk to you about what happened in that race. Obviously, Phil, anyone else who may have missed the first race. Obviously, Anders took a very dominating victory from what I heard, but what were the other key points in that race that you took away from round 13?
Well, I'd be interested to get your feedback, Scott, certainly, and Carl. The race was a strange one. Everything went against type. Everything we've been saying up until this point in the season, you know, Ben Tusting is a good racer and a safe pair of hands. Diego Comuni sometimes struggles in traffic. Anders still hasn't won a race. It all got turned on its head. You know, Anders won at a reasonable canter. He was putting in good lap times, certainly, you know, very competitive in the high 23s, low 24s. But he was put in that position really by an uncharacteristic mistake from Ben Tusting in turn 1 on lap 1 that caused a bit of an accident, put Tusting and a couple of the other drivers further down the field and really opened up a little bit of a gap. And Comuni, you know, very racy from a, not a top 3 start, and historically we've seen him when he's not in that top 3 struggle, so it was really an odd race, really turned everything on his head. But the one thing it did do was allow Anders Dahl to pull away again at the head of the championship.
Now, of course, looking at the warm-up times very quickly, of course, Anders is just over half a second clear from anyone else. The second fastest man in warm-up is, in fact, Diego Comuni in second. The aforementioned Ben Tusting is down in 6th position. He's around 3/4 of a second off the pace of Anders Dahl at this point. So, obviously, that tells us that it's certainly a circuit that Anders likes. Of course, the way in which he was able to pull away and dominate race 1 certainly testifies to that. But starting, of course, from 10th on the grid, of course, we need to exactly see his racecraft. I mean, he has got racecraft. We saw plenty of it last time out at Road America, carving his way through the field. But on a circuit like Road Atlanta, do you think he's going to have it a little bit easier, or due to the fact that it is more of a narrow circuit, especially in that first sector, he might find it a bit trickier? Now he's going to have cars around him rather than a clear track at the beginning of the race.
It'll be interesting. It's certainly, he won't do anything silly. I mean, from my point of view, it's been the cornerstone of his efforts so far. I think he'll be steady, not slow and steady, obviously, because he's light years quicker than everybody else in relative terms. I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Yeah, it's a strange one. It's going to be intriguing, this race too. I really don't know what to make of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I gotta agree with him on that one. You know, with the weird occurrences that we saw in race number 1, it's kind of thrown us through a loop as to what to expect him seeing traffic for the first time tonight. You know, it'll be interesting to see how he can play through that, and if something weird happens to him where he doesn't normally flow through traffic as productively as he normally does. But you know, if things do go at a normal pace for Anders, I wouldn't expect to see him outside the top 5. He should be able to stay competitive and stay right around with these guys, and should be able to bring home a top 5.
He's going to have Ben Tusting starting right behind him on the grid as well, isn't he? If Anders starting 10th and Tusting starting 12th, he's really going to have to get a move on at the start.
One of us certainly made you feel nervous after that first corner is the fact that Ben caused it, and of course almost might have caused Anders a bit of grief, which may have taken away that potential to win that first race. It's possibly playing in Anders' mind, and knowing the fact that he started behind him on the grid is going to make him even more cautious off the line and more eager as well to try and get away before Ben does something maybe a little bit not unsporting is the wrong word, but something a little bit risky into that first corner. And it's quite
Yeah, I don't think that Ben did anything particularly wrong in that first race. He just found himself in the middle of the funnel of 3 into 1, and he just didn't make quite the right decision, you know, and it caused a little bit of a problem. But certainly, you know, it wasn't a huge mistake. So I don't think it's anything that Anders needs to particularly worry about. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with those two guys coming from so far back. Do you think Tusting and Anders Dahl have what it takes, Carl, to get right up the top by the end of the second race?
Oh, without a doubt. You know, Ben's a human just like you and I, so you know he is prone to making mistakes, and you know that was just one of those mistakes there in race number 1. I'm sure he's learned from it. You know, he's got a visual a visual in his head of what happened and you know what to fix for the start in this race. And if these guys just kind of let things flow out for the first lap or two, you know, get into a rhythm, find some comfortable room around the racetrack, they should have no problem working their way up through the field at all. I mean, these are 2 of the best drivers that we got in the series, and I have no doubts in my mind that they can knock their way through their starting spots and finish in the top 5 for sure.
Well, he's certainly a human being, but I don't think he's a human being like you or I, certainly not like me. If the aim of this game was to drive the cars backwards or on the grass or sideways, then there'd be some similarities, but he can keep it pointing in the right direction, so that certainly puts him head and shoulders above me. I obviously won't speak for you, but
I can keep it going the right way. It's just how well I can compare to some of these times. I don't know.
Yeah, they are setting blistering times. So just to recap, as we come to the end of this warm-up session, Anders Dahl comfortably the fastest car, over 0.3 of a second clear of Diego Comuni. Amano Palumbo in 3rd place, just a further 10th back from Diego, with Ricardo Chavon just behind the first of the runners in the 124s, 3 guys in front of him being comfortably in the 23s. So it looks like, in terms of pace, Anders is surrounded by a lot of very, very quick GT Italia cars, and it'll be interesting to see as the cars start to make their way towards the gridding up procedure. It'll be interesting to see if that pace plays out in the race, or if, like race 1, it has a pocket full of surprises for us against. Is there any drivers in particular you'll be watching out for in this second race, Carl?
Well, you know, I'm missing quite a bit of the first race to try to deal with my problems. You know, it just you know, I can't really come up with any other names other than the 2 that we've really been talking about. You know, we see Anders at the top of the board here in warm up. You know, he probably got a clean lap to run that lap. So, you know, you probably got to vary in a few tenths or so to see what he could run with race pace and with traffic around him. But, you know, like you said, it'll be an entertaining race to watch to see what they can do. And the guys are taking the grid right now.
I'm not sure if we got Scott back. He's continuing to struggle, unfortunately, with a few gremlins. Scott, are you back with us, or? Nope, it sounds like the gremlins have well and truly attacked. Hopefully he's got one in the blender and one in the microwave. The movies tell me that's how you deal with gremlins. So just before we start this second race, I'll just run through the grid, because obviously we run the reverse grid system in the Carrera Cup for the second and third races. Alain Tessier takes pole in the number 78 machine. He'll have Angelo De Mello alongside him, James Yates and Stefan Hug in third and fourth, just behind him, Ricardo Chavon and Nick Tyson in fifth and sixth, seventh is Jamie Wilson, eighth Diego Comuni, ninth and 10th are the two front row sitters from race 1, Egil Sandfield and Anders Dahl in the iRacing Denmark machines. It looks like pretty much everybody is where they need to be. I'd certainly be watching 12th position, Ben Tusting, see where he comes. The engine notes rise, everybody's ready, braces themselves, the lights go green and away we go. And it's a reasonable start from Tessier, but De Mello really got the drop on him then. Really seemed to get traction, and I think any other circuit will be challenging, but around the outside in turn 1 is a tough day out here. And just to prove the point, De Mello locks it up, smokes a tyre, and Tessier pulls away in the lead car.
Yeah, De Mello there got a little bit sideways trying to make that outside line work there, heading into turn number 1. Couldn't quite get it done, and Tessier going to clear and try to pull away here. Looks like for the most part everybody's single file heading through the S's. Looks like maybe back in the 13th, 14th or so we had a side-by-side battle of everybody getting off to a much cleaner start than that last race, single filing it out quickly, and Tessier is starting to open up a little bit of a gap here in the early stages of the first lap.
Yeah, absolutely, a much cleaner start than we saw in race 1, with everybody making it through that first turn in relatively intact vehicles. A little bit of bumping and boring as the guys head out onto the back straight through turn 7 for the first time, but certainly nothing that you wouldn't expect in a tin-top series such as this one, albeit these cars can be a little bit touchy. If you hit them in the wrong place, they can suffer from overheating problems. As the guys go screaming down into the chicane for the first time, no real movements, nobody really prepared to take that chance. The only place that really changes of note is Luigi Nespolino takes 12th place, but certainly up top it's line astern as we go through the final turn, and Tessier starts his second lap.
Up to an 8/10 of a second lead off of that first lap over Angelo De Mello, trying to continue this pace. I don't believe he is one of the drivers who has picked up a victory yet this year, so right now, again, could be looking to put another driver with a win, to put a win in that win column. Still very early in the race, but I'm sure that's a thought that Alain is thinking about right now, trying to stay positive and continue to open up a gap. Looks like he's extended that gap now as they head into these two right-handers before that long back straightaway. Again, you know, everybody's still looking fairly clean single file throughout most of the field right now, trying to see if there's any sort of side-by-side battle going on. Looks like we do have a side-by-side battle for 14th. That's Patrice Longley and the 703 machine of Matt Malone. Patrice has the spot. Malone is trying to take it. He can't get it done, and I believe behind him is Bradley Selms, who's maybe trying to use some draft from Patrice there to pull up beside the 703, and he does. Around the outside, he's got the preferred line heading into turn 10, I believe this is. And, oh, Patrice made some contact there, or got contacted there from the 703, and he's going to go around, and that's going to allow Bradley Selms to pull away from that battle. But a tough break there for Patrice Langley.
Yeah, it's a shame. Matt Malone, a very clean driver, so you know, very much out of character for him. So as we start the third lap of the race, let's give you a quick rundown of where we stand. Alain Tessier leads with 1.2 second lead over Angelo De Mello. James Yates finds himself third for FT9 Craft Racing, just half a second back from De Mello. Stefan Hug fourth. Ricardo Chavon sits in fifth, with Nick Tyson right behind him, literally parked underneath his rear bumper. Jamie Wilson and Egil Sandfield are 7th and 8th. Anders Dahl has made up one spot into 9th, taking Diego Comuni. He's dropped down into 10th, so Comuni's lost 2 or 3 places in that opening couple of laps. Ben Tusting up 1 place from his starting position into 11th. And again, as we come down the start-finish straight into the dip, going into the chicane, it's all happening in the midfield, certainly from that kind of 4th and 5th position, fighting hard for every position, almost 3 wide going down into the chicane there, and Ricardo Chavon is bravest and latest on the brakes and takes a place away from Stefan Hug, so that certainly would put Ricardo Chavon up into 4th place, I believe, and dropped Stefan Hug down a spot, who's now got Nick Tyson literally parked underneath his rear wing, and it looks like they're going to try and make it 3 wide into turn 1. That's never going to work. Discretion being the better part of valour there. Yep, that's excellent driving from all concerned, backing out at the right time to avoid the accident. But Carl, look what it's done. It's really closed everybody up. Oh, and there's a huge impact. Did you see who that was?
That's Skavan upside down, flipping off of turn number 3. He gave up the spot to Tyson, and he was still battling there with the 25 of Stephen Hug, and Hug just got into that right rear corner, turned him, and flipped him around. Another one of the Team GT Tally cars, the 21 machine, Diego Comuni, also went around, and I believe he made some contact with the inside wall there. So a huge turn of events for Ricardo Skavan. Had a great run, was making up some spots, and all of a sudden it literally turned upside down for him. A tough break. Don't know how bad
sorry to cut you off there, Carl, but we've got to move for first place. Angelo De Mella's obviously decided that he's had enough of Alain Tessier's moment of glory, and he's launched a move from a long way back down into the chicane there. Alain Tessier obviously deciding that second place is good enough for him. It'll be a great result, and he gives up that place fairly easily, so we've got a change at the top. Angelo De Mella leads over the line with Alain Tessier 2 of a second behind him. James Yates now a good 3.5 seconds behind those two in third place. And we'll have a look at the official timing and see how that accident has shaken the field up. But there's a few gaps that have been filled in there, Carl, certainly.
Yeah, for sure, and De Mella going into the lead is probably the only positive thing that GT Italia is really looking at right now, as that last crash took out 2 of its drivers.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Hooray, hello,
finally!
How are you doing?
Annoyed that I'm not sure why my mic wasn't working. I've had to exit out the server and come back in, so you guys, from what I've heard, have done a great job. So, Carl, please do finish your point before I reintroduce myself.
It's all good. But yeah, the positive thing now for GT Italia is that they have a car in the lead. 2 of its drivers, Diego Comuni and Ricardo Skavan, getting taken out in that crash, and Skavan was not happy at all. I saw in the driver chat he was questioning what went down there, so he is not too happy. I saw he had to take a tow, and at that last time by, he's still kind of dropping down the timing charts. He's at 31st right now. He did cross the line, it looks like, so it looks like he is moving right now. Going to pull him up as we speak. He is just exiting the pits, just out in front of the leaders. So he went from 4th place to now 31st, just a few seconds out in front of the leaders. That's a tough break for Skavan, and as I had mentioned, he's not too happy about it at all.
So, finally, after 15 laps of technical problems, finally I can put my voice to something in this race. Finally, it's I just watched the pass that's happened between Egil Sandfeld, Ben Tustin and Jamie Wilson. They've reshuffled themselves around, which now sees Sandfeld into 6th place, Tustin into 7th and Wilson into 8th. And amazingly, ahead of all of them is Anders Dahl, who has made up quite a few spots and is starting to pull away already from his teammate in 5th position. But up at the front, it's still De Mella who's leading, but he's being kept honest by quite a while by Alain Tessier down the back straight. And of course, now we've got, I think that's, who that is in 31st, Ricardo Skavan now a lap down. He could possibly play a factor as they come down the straight, but I'm watching now Tessier in the draft down towards the chicane at the bottom of the hill. De Mella feels he has to go defensive already down into the braking zone. Tessier looking to the outside, can't quite find a way through, he's not close enough. And just behind I can see James Yates and Nick Tyson disputing over 3rd spot. Yates currently holds it, but Tyson's all over the back of the number 26, which he's got the run up the inside underneath the bridge and through the final corner, and just as easy as you like, Tyson gets himself into 3rd spot at the end of lap number 6, but Yates is not going to finish that move off as easy as that, because he's trying to get himself back through, but Tyson gets himself just in front and makes the move, outbraking him into turn 1 to hold on to the 3rd place. Tyson marching his way towards the 2 leaders, but guys, in 4 laps or so, we're looking at comparative lap times. I mean, a 124.693 last time for De Mella, a 124.642 for Tessier. So Tessier certainly seems to be holding enough pace to keep himself at the front, despite the fact that he did get 10th in race 1. but I'm not sure if it's because the incentive is there from De Mella. He certainly seems to have a lot of pace in his second race, and certainly isn't out of the question of possibly grabbing a race victory in this second race.
Well, at the risk of misrepresenting anyone, I think Tessier is probably a little bit surprised at how easily he's able to hang on to De Mella. When the move came on lap 3 and De Mella decided he'd had enough of Tessier leading, and as I said, it was a move that came from a long way back. Alain Tessier gave it up pretty easily, but he's hanging in there. He's, you know, only 0.2 of a second behind De Mella, and if I was De Mella, I'd be nervous because he's got a guy behind him who's quick, tidy, and will be absolutely desperate to take this rare chance for a win. So, you know, he's a guy who's got everything to gain and nothing to lose. So if I was De Mella, I'd be certainly checking that mirror every 2 or 3, you know, every 2 or 3 seconds, just to make sure Tessier was back there and not trying to launch anything.
Yeah, absolutely, Marcus. Since now, which can play the next car that they're going to be lapping is Ricardo's Gavon, which, you know, being teammates with Angelo De Mella could play into a factor. Hopefully it doesn't. But another thing that Tessier has to an advantage is that he has so much room behind him in his mirror that he can't. Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah, but he's just driven it off the... We've all done that. Going through turn 5, I believe it is, he's just a little bit too early on the loud pedal and you get massive oversteer there. And to be frank, he's done a fantastic job keeping out of the wall, because with my admitted lack of talent, usually if I do that there, I'm in the wall on the left-hand side. So credit to Tessier for keeping going, but now he finds himself certainly... I don't think he lost a position, did he? But he certainly cost himself some time.
Yeah, and also looking as well, I think we've also... Sorry, we've also seen a change for, I think, back for 3rd and 4th again, because James Yates at that same corner managed to get around Nick Tyson, and look who's driven onto the back of all of them. Anders Dahl, who the man that only one race won and leads the championship, really is charging, because he's right on the rear, almost on the rear wing of Nick Tyson as they head onto the pit straight to complete lap number 8. So they're on to the penultimate lap of race 2 here at Road Atlanta. And this now changes things, because of course it's now going to become a 4-car scrap for second place at this rate, although Tessier does seem to have the pace advantage compared to the likes of Yates and Tyson, so we'll have to wait and see how that develops. And Edgar Sanford's not too far away, he's just behind his teammate, so this could become even, roughly around a 5-car scrap, and the gap between all 3 of them is about, or 5 of them I should say, is about 4 or so, 3.5 seconds, so they're not too far away from each other, as Tyson uses a lot of curve on the outside. But this could... Oh, I think Sanford's lost it. Sanford lost it big time. He's in the middle of the circuit. Loses it on the exit of, I think that must have been turn number 7. And spins around almost a complete 360. In fact, he's just let through, I think, both Ben Tusting and Luigi Nespolino. So Sanford down to 8th spot after a mistake that was all his own doing. Yeah,
it's that evil turn. I think it was turn 5 again. Again, the temptation there is to get on the pedal as early as you can do, and it's uphill. The back of the car is lighter than you think it's going to be, and it's just going to throw you around. And now he's got a real run on Luigi Nespolino coming down the dip into turn 10A at the chicane, and he's certainly going to have a go here.
Indeed he does. Not going to be able to make it happen though. He falls back in line. He's going to have one more lap to try to give it a shot. But yeah, that turn 5 is such a tricky corner. You know, those S's are so tight, and it's so important to try to get the best of a line that you can running through that portion of the track. And I've done it myself. I've seen these guys sliding around. It's so easy to get back onto the gas early and have too much power. You know, you hit the rumble strips to the outside, you might clip the dirt right there, and just knocks the car sideways. And it's a very easy mistake to do when you're in the heat of battle.
And speaking of which, in the background we've had a car go off at the last turn. I'm not sure who it is. I think it might be the unfortunate accidented, invented a word there, Matt Malone. I think it's his 3rd or 4th excursion across the grass, and it's a shame he's putting good pressure on for 17th and 18th place, but he now finds himself quite a way adrift in 19th.
Well, after a fairly trouble-free race, Angelo De Mella, with teammate Ricardo Schiavon in tow, is heading down towards the final corner. He was pressured for quite a while by Alain. He pressured Alain Tessier, finally made him crack down literally here at this chicane, and after cracking under his own pressure, Tessier has allowed the GT Italian man to run through the final corner relatively unchallenged, He actually runs behind his teammate Skierbon, but it doesn't matter. It'll be a formation finish. De Mella takes race 2 at Road Atlanta by some margin. Tessier comes home just in 2nd place, from Yates in 3rd, Tyson in 4th. Dahl will come through in 5th, and Tusting is going to be almost in no man's land in 6th position as he heads across the line. Nespolino is just going to hold out Egil Sandfeld. No, he lost it. He lost it on the last lap. So Sandfeld has taken Nespolino on the last lap, which is an incredible move. Community comes through in 9th, and Bradley Selms does an incredible job to hold on to 10th place and a top 10 finish for the 13 car. Let's see, Stefan Hug all the way down in 11th spot after that finish. Then Jamie Wilson coming down in 12th. Another surprisingly poor finish for the 87 car. Adam Powell comes home in 13th. Longley 14th. Appleton was in 15th spot, followed by Darrell Taylor, Robert DeRoy, and then Radek Reznicek. Matt Malone comes home in 19th despite all the incidents he's been involved in, and Tian Darmes comes home in 20th to round out the top 20 in the number 301 machine. But one intriguing race that was, especially the fact that De Mella managed to put so much pressure onto Tessier, finally made the move down into the turn A and B chicane. And then it just seems that Tessier just seemed to let the pressure and the stress get the better of him, and just at treacherous turn 5, just dropped it, and that was it.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was watching actually the run down the final straight between Egil Sandfeld and Luigi Nespolino. As you mentioned, Sandfeld took the 7th place from Nespolino right at the end there, obviously losing a point and losing a place in this race, but obviously Nespolino now start the 3rd race from position 3 on the grid, and it was a very aggressive outbraking manoeuvre by Sandfeld down into the chicane. He came from a long way back, and Nespolino luckily saw him coming and could get well out of the way.
And Carl, also your thoughts on race 2. How did you see the events unfold? I think possibly Carl might be having 1 or 2 issues once again, so we'll get him back as soon as we can. Feel free to quickly jump in once you are back with us, Carl. So, what this will now mean, looking at the results for race 2, is we're going to give you the top 10 as to how they're going to run. Of course, again, it will reverse the results of race 2 to form up the top 10 for race 3. So that means Bradley Selms finds himself on pole position for the final race here at Road Atlanta with the rather rapid Diego Comuni, who was setting some very fast times in practice, and also in the warm-up session for this race, on the front row alongside him. And Espolino and Sandfeld will line up on row 2 in the 10 and the 89, so Comuni does at least have some support in another GT Italia car around him. Then we have Tusting and Anders Dahl, which is going to be very interesting. In fact, they're first and second in the championship on row 3. Row 4 will see Nick Tyson ahead of James Yates in 7th and 8th, and then Alain Tessier and race 2 winner Angelo De Mella will start on row number 5. Some of the drivers who I think we just dropped out and didn't have such a good race, and looking down the field, Amano Ipalumbo finished up a lap down in 28th. Ricardo Skiervon managed to unlap himself and come through in 27th spot, just ahead of his teammate who of course won the race. Michael Booth, the man who won in race 2 in Road America, only 21st, so certainly not enjoying this circuit as much as he did at Elkhart Lake, where he was rather on top form in those races last week. And also Patrice Longley down in 14th. Matt Malone, who does stream a lot on twitch.tv, so you can join his channel for live race 3 live if you want from his point of view. Showdown 1983 is his Twitch name, so go and check that out if you want to. And also looking Jamie Wilson down in 12th, which means that he's going to have a lot of work cut out. But what do you guys, just before we wrap up and go towards the race 3 program, what are you guys expecting from race 3? Of course, Selma's on pole, a chance to really make an impact in this race, but of course, a lot of tough drivers around him. It's going to be very hard pressed to keep himself there at the front of the field. Yeah,
Bradley Selmers is in the text chat channel celebrating the fact that he's got his first ever top 10. I don't think it's quite sunk in yet that it means he's starting race 3 from pole position, because usually that's an exclamation of terror for guys that aren't used to being up there. But the third race, literally all bets are off. I don't think any of us would have picked the top 3 in race 2. We had another fairly serious top 10 incident. You know, 5 or 6 cars taken out of 5th, 6th and 7th place and beyond. That's likely to happen again. Really, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy this one as much as possible because, yeah, anything could happen. I couldn't even start to consider trying to call a winner in this one.
Well, we'll certainly find out who the winner's going to be in race 3. As usual, if you just click off the race or race 2, go back to the BSR page on YouTube and click the link for race 3, which is also going to be round number 15. And for myself, Kyle, and from Marcus, we'll see you in a few minutes for round 15 of the BSR Carrera Cup Season 1 from Road Atlanta.